Just a couple quick marking period reminders. You have tomorrow and Friday to be sure you're retaking, making up, turning in anything you want to be graded before the marking period is done. Friday is the last day of the marking period. Remember, everything we're doing now is going to be assessed during the fourth marking period. You guys did a fantastic job yesterday. We had 100% engagement. It was an amazing day, and you guys were awesome this morning during Alex. That was like 300% improvement from yesterday's Alex time. So hopefully you were productive during that time. But if you chose not to be, at least others were able to be that chose to be because you were silent as expected. That was impressive. Thank you. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to kind of review, we're going to practice, and then we're kind of going to solidify that practice with a bit of a game. So we want to be sure you're understanding. So we refreshed our memory with slope-intercept form, right? Y equals mx plus b. And then we talked about standard form, ax plus by equals c. Then we talked about how we would solve for y by rearranging our equation. So we moved our x term to the right because we want it on the right of y, right? And then we had to solve for just y. So some of them were simple. Some of them just took one step, right? If we subtracted our variable term from both sides, then we were left with y equals whatever it is. And we always want to try and list our variable terms before our constants. So lots of vocab for you to remember too, right? Then they got a little bit more complicated, right? If we had more than one y, we had to divide all of our terms by how many y's that was. So we divided that -4 by 5. We divided that -30 by 5, and we had to simplify it. The other thing that got a little tricky was when we had a negative y. We could think about it as the opposite of y, or we could think about it as negative y. And you could either multiply through by a -1, divide through by a -1, or simply like we did here, we said the opposite of the left side was y. So the opposite of the left side would be equal to the opposite of the right side. So that was a lot. If you weren't here, I would definitely suggest going back and reviewing that video, working along with us. I stop and say, okay, try this one, right? Actually try that one. Don't just sit and stare at your paper and expect magic to happen. So hopefully we got the first 4 done as your independent practice, but I want to go over those today for review, okay? So we want it to be in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So I want it to look like I just have one y on the left, an x term, and maybe a constant. Sometimes that constant is 0, right? So we might not have b at all. So what did you guys do first for number 1? How do I get my x term? So how do I cancel out the 2x? Good, I'm going to take its opposite. So I would have to match it up with negative that many. So positive 2x, the opposite is negative 2x. Negative 2x is equal to negative 2x. Yesterday, I talked about how we wanted to line these up so that they were with their like terms. I'm not putting it right below the 2 because I'm not saying 2 minus 2. I'm saying this 2 is being combined with that negative 2x. So 2x minus 2x is 0. All that's left on the left to bring down is a y. I brought down my equal sign. Now, when we're thinking about this, we want our variable term first. So the one with our x is our variable term. So that comes down, and then a 2. What do I need in front of the 2? plus. They're being combined and the 2 is positive, so I would show that with plus. If they're being combined and the 2 was negative, we would put a minus there, right? All right, so let's look at number 2. I can tell right away I have a negative y, so I'm going to end up taking the opposite of it. But first I need to move my 7x. So what's the opposite of 7x? Negative 7x. So I'm going to write that right below where I'm taking it away from and kind of to the right of the 5, but below it here. These two things are equal. We can do the same thing to both sides and keep our equation equal. 7x minus 7x is 0. That's why we subtracted 7x. Don't forget your to bring down your negative here. Be sure you did that when you were doing it yesterday. Check your work there. A lot of people miss bringing that negative down with the y. Then I have my variable term, which is negative 7x, and my constant, which is positive 5. So I'm going to write plus 5 because they're being combined together. Okay. So I want y, but I have the opposite of y. So let's take the opposite of everything. What's the opposite of negative y? Positive y. What's the opposite of negative 7x? Positive 7x. And I also have to take the opposite of 5, which is negative 5. Do you see this is the same as multiplying at both sides by a negative 1? So negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1y. Negative 1 times negative 7 is positive 7x. Positive 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So one way or the other, you got to think through what a positive y equals if you have a negative y there. Okay. All right. Number 3. What'd you guys do first? Minus 3x. Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So you said that made that 0. So don't forget to bring down negative 2y. Bring down your equal sign, your variable term, and your 8, which is positive. So we write it as plus 8. Now I have to divide all terms by what? Negative 2. Well done. We are big kids and we show division with a fraction bar. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. So 1y we write as y. This is what we want. This is the form we want. Now I'm just simplifying this fraction a little bit. Negative divided by a negative is positive. So I'm writing the top number over the bottom number. And I'm leaving it improper because in slope-intercept form, we want to know our slope, right? This helps us because this leaves it in rise over run form. And 8 divided by negative 2 is what? Negative 4. Did you guys get this for number 3? Hopefully. We're getting there. All right. How do I move? Same thing here, right? Look at your examples if you're stuck. So I'm going to subtract 3x again from both sides. That makes it go away. Now I have negative y equals negative 3x. Bring down your negative 4. Can I stop here? No, I need to take the opposite of everything. So I'm changing the sign of everything. Right? The opposite of negative 3, the opposite of negative 4. Fair? How did we do? All right, I want you to try number 5 if you haven't already. What are you doing to both sides? Good. Sometimes those fractions are gonna be a little funky. Not this time. You don't know what you're doing. You're not showing your work. I need to take out there, you need to be working along with us. Yeah, keep up the pace. Okay, we're doing number 8, we're on number 5 right now. You don't want to work on number. That is why it's consistent that you actually show about the policy. So now, here's the people time. You lost it. Guys, I know the showing of work seems really picky, but I promise things are going to get more difficult and I want you to be able to work your way through. All right. So we subtracted 8x. I saw you all doing this. Right? 8x minus 8x, that goes away. So then be sure you bring down this whole thing here, including the sign. That is the whole term. So negative 3y is equal to, it's easiest here to put your variable term first, so you don't have to rearrange later, and your constant second. Variable term, constant. And then I divide all of my parts by negative 3 so that I get positive 1y. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is a positive 1. That's what we wanted. That's why we were dividing by negative 3. Here, this just becomes positive. So I have 8/3 x. Here, 12 divided by 3 is 4, and negative divided by negative is positive. All right, are you guys feeling comfortable there? Yes. All right, I'm going to give you a few minutes. I want you to be sure to complete page 2 and 3. And then when you're ready, we're kind of going to be working in a game. So complete 2 and 3. I'll be walking around, check it with your neighbor. Where is, we're gonna put up pages 2 and 3. Make sure you guys got the same thing. Look back over your work to see where each of you went wrong if one of you is different, right? I know a lot of you are still working, so keep working. But for those of you that are done, go into Google Classroom and under the classwork tab under important information, there is a link to join our class in GimKit. I kind of deleted the last class on accident. So second hour, yours will be under your important information. Go to join that class there. That just hooks you into our class. It might have you log in through Google too. So once you do that in whatever hour you are in, you'll be able to play GimKit with us and receive credit for that. And so then I am going to be posting this, but let me. Do you guys want to have a snowy survival?
What is that?
I don't know. You get snowballs with every question. It's like a snowball fight, it looks like. All right. So I'm trying to give you the link so you can just click on it here. This will just be the second hour link. So I'll have to edit third and seventh hours link, but that will get you into the game here. So once you're done, you can get started playing here. Yep. Because this is very similar, it's just practice. So you might want a scrap sheet of paper. So go into Google Classroom. Go into Google Classroom, refresh it. GimKit, it's extra practice. Yes, for sure will be helpful to your grade. I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting.